Okay, I think we're gonna. Can you hear me? Sorry, we're not coordinated enough to have a microphone that actually connects to the microphone stand. So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you coming out on a weeknight to engage with this very crucial topic for our town. Just to place this in a context, this is the third community forum this year devoted to discussing the future development on the tenant Roberts. Speak up. Okay. Can you make this a little louder? I'm sorry. We'll try to make it a little louder. Is this better? Okay. Welcome again. This is the third community forum this year devoted to discussing future development on the tenant Roberts Whitley campus of the Princeton Theological Seminary. At the last community forum on May 6th, the municipality articulated specific goals and objectives for the property. We indicated that we would spend the summer evaluating the concept plan proposal from Herring Properties, the contract purchaser of the site, to ensure it achieves those goals and objectives while mitigating negative detriments to the community. We promised that we would come back in the fall with the vetted concept plan, and that's what we're doing tonight. This community forum is designed as a kickoff to the next phase of the process in which the neighborhood and the community at large can provide feedback and input into an actual plan, for which so many of you have been asking us for several years. We are thrilled tonight to finally, at long last, be able to deliver, for better or worse, an actual plan with which you can engage with us. This community forum is designed as a kickoff to the next phase of the process in which the neighborhood and the community at large can provide feedback. The community forum is being recorded and will be publicly available on the municipal website along with tonight's presentation, starting tomorrow. There will be multiple public meetings and hearings before both the council and planning board before any official action is taken. I just want to remind you all that redevelopment is a process of double scrutiny. This is the process by which the municipality scrutinizes the concept plan and vets the contract purchaser's proposal before it goes to the planning board and all of the regular processes, the land use processes for vetting a proposal. So for tonight's run of show, so you know what to expect. First up, we have Steve Lennick of Greenbaum Row, Princeton's Redevelopment Council, who has been overseeing the work by Princeton's redevelopment team to vet the project proposal over the summer, and he will go into great detail to explain the work that's been done over the summer. Next, for those of you in Princeton, the few of you who don't already know Jamie Herring, a longtime local resident, Jamie will be introducing himself and explaining his connection to the process and the project. After that, Jamie's team will be introducing themselves and unveiling the project. And finally, we'll take questions from the audience. Thank you all again so much for coming, and we look forward to unveiling this long-awaited concept plan. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Council President, and thanks to the entire redevelopment team in Princeton that's worked so hard over the summer and gotten us to this meeting, which, again, as Mia stated, is just the kickoff of the next phase. There are no votes being taken tonight, no decisions being made. This is really the opportunity that we've worked very hard towards getting a presentation presented by the contract purchaser, Herring Properties, tonight to you all. And we're very excited for that. As Mia mentioned, this is the third community forum that's been held this year on this, first two back in March and May, And during those meetings, the goals for those meetings were to establish what the vision for this site should be from the municipal perspective. What are the goals and objectives that were identified for this property? And we came up with many, as those of you who were there remember. They included the creation of meaningful supply of affordable housing in this area of the former borough, publicly available and attractive open spaces, a project that fostered a sense of place and one which is walkable to the downtown, underground structured parking in lieu of pervious surface parking lots, the preservation of as many mature, healthy trees as possible, sustainability and resiliency infrastructure built in, including enhanced stormwater management, green roofs, other green infrastructure, EV charging stations and EV-ready infrastructure, limiting traffic on the local roads, a contextual design which takes into account the former use of the property and the neighborhood, and ultimately a project that proudly serves as the gateway to Princeton with a high-quality aesthetic appearance that Princeton is proud of. Since that last meeting, the redevelopment team has worked with the Herring Properties Group and established those goals and objectives and built into a vetting process for those concepts and ultimately into a concept that you're going to see tonight. That process included ensuring that the project meaningfully addressed each of those goals that we laid out for ourselves while minimizing the impact to the community and especially the local neighborhood. It included a deep analysis from a planning, architectural, traffic, parking, stormwater, resiliency, affordability, and financial point of view. And with respect to the project finances, for example, this included a thorough investigation of the project's pro forma and financial plan with our financial advisors to ensure not only that the project is financially feasible for both the municipality and the developer that it gets built, but also that the density being proposed was the minimum necessary to achieve all of the goals and objectives that we laid out for ourselves. And again, as Mia pointed out, it's important to remember that this is just the kickoff to the next phase, and there is more work to be done. For example, the municipality just yesterday retained a new traffic consultant that will continue working with the vetting on this plan, and we do encourage the comments tonight and going forward. As Mia mentioned, this will be recorded and the presentation publicly available for view. At the conclusion of this next phase, the next step would be to have a redevelopment plan produced and adopted by the council, or introduced by the council, reviewed by the planning board, and ultimately voted on and considered by the council. That right there requires 2 council meetings and a planning board meeting, publicly noticed, and one public hearing. And that's just the redevelopment plan. And we've talked at the last hearings about the steps after that, including the negotiation of a redevelopment agreement before it goes into the traditional development phase of site plan review. So with that, we're very excited to turn this over to Herring Properties to present their concept plans. And I'd like to introduce Jamie Herring.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jamie Herring. I'm the owner of Herring Properties. I have a fair amount to say, and rather than miss anything, please bear with me as I read some of my comments. But let me put my glasses in first. We're the ones who are proposing the project at 108 Stockton, formerly known as the PTS site. Yeah, thank you. The site will distinguish itself in several key areas. Number one, it will bring more than $1 million of new tax revenue to the town per year. Number two, it will turn a site with non-compliant stormwater management into current best practices. Number three, it will be walkable to downtown, the Dinky, and other public transportation, requiring fewer vehicles. Number four, it will be the first residential project in the western section with affordable units in over 40 years. And five, the quality of design and architecture will be respectful of the neighborhood and the locale of the site as a gateway to Princeton. Our plan for the 5-acre site located on Stockton is for residential buildings that will range from 3 to 4 stories with stone and stucco exteriors, a traditional style. The site will have underground parking, open park areas, and a main entrance drive off of Stockton. 60% of the site will have open space. We are planning for 238 apartments, which includes the affordable housing units. There have been many discussions about this site over the last half a decade. Yes, it's been that long, and yes, the site has been vacant for that period. So for someone who grew up here, I know that the Princeton community likes to evaluate and reevaluate its options. There are no shortage of ideas, how the town should grow, or even if the town should grow. Why do we need affordable housing, or shouldn't we have projects that have entirely affordable housing? Some parts of this process are productive. Good ideas can rise to the top when you have the dialogue, and this can help to better define the goals of a project. As someone who has been doing this for a long time, I value the exchange, and we have worked hard to incorporate these ideas that we have gathered into our plan over the last 2 years. Certainly not every constituency will be satisfied with this, and it is important that this not be forgotten, which it often is, and the result is when people are not satisfied is a delay or inaction. Nothing gets done, and this damages the town in many ways. Constructive ideas get squelched, good opportunities squander, sites sit vacant, tax revenues are forgone, smart growth stagnates, and the town does not move forward. National developers come in with a legal team and a mediocre development plan. I have actually heard this exact dialogue about our site in the prior seminary plans to build student housing, until that plan was aborted. You may no longer have the seminary to develop this site, but what you do have is a local developer who is invested in the community, sensitive to local interests, and an opportunity to create a project that will help the town in many ways. I encourage all of you to speak up, and we have a full house, because the advantages of a project like this affect the entire town, its residents, the local institutions, housing advocates, and even business leaders. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Princeton with my parents and my brother and sister. Both my parents, Jim and Carol, still live in Princeton and are here today. I went to the public schools until the high school when they thought I needed to improve in my writing skills. Eventually, they came to realize that I'm a better builder than a writer. They tried. My wife, Kathy, is here. She's on the board of Sea Change, a nonprofit organization trying to bring national attention to global climate change, and a board member of the Arts Council. We have 3 daughters, all of who live in New York City, one who's actually here tonight. The other 2 didn't decide to come. I moved my business to Princeton in 2014 to develop the commercial buildings on the former hospital site just up the street at Witherspoon. Prior to that, I had been developing in New Jersey, other areas in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania, which I continue to do. All other properties in Princeton include 601 Ewing and some residential units around town. We pay about $1 million of real estate taxes to Princeton alone per year. So I would say we are very invested in the Princeton community. I am actively involved in many organizations throughout our community. I'm on the executive board of McCarter, a board member of 101 Fund, which provides scholarships to Princeton high school students, and an advisor and former board member of the Arts Council, and I recently have become a co-chair of the Economic Development Committee of the new business improvement district called Experience Princeton. I'm sharing this I'm sharing all of this not because I think it's unusual or special, but because I think it's crucially important as we move forward on this project for you to know that the person leading this effort is sensitive and respectful of the Princeton community, someone who will listen to the concerns of the broader community, who will meet the requirements of the municipality, and who already has a track record of investing and improving the town. I could not be more committed to this project. As both a long-term resident and place where I live. This project is built on smart growth principles. As I said, this project will stand out in Princeton for its walkability to town and Dinky and the western section for its new tax revenue, its affordable units in the western section, stormwater management, and high-quality design, which you will start to see as we roll this out today. We have worked on this design for this project for 2 years. It has not been a one-sided effort. We have actively engaged community leaders, Princeton residents, affordable authorities, immediate neighbors. We have used their ideas, including those from the aborted seminary effort 5 years ago. And you will see that in the design today. And it has been a significant engagement in the community. But as with anything, there are trade-offs. All the requests cost money, and in order to pay for this, we must be able to construct a certain number of units. We are very pleased to be able to accomplish this with the 238 units, which are 49 units per acre, and is similar to recently constructed projects in Princeton. If we built a smaller project, we would not be able to provide all the special features. Instead, we would have surface parking lots around lower quality generic buildings, retention basins instead of landscape public parks, and far fewer affordable units. None of these features were desired in all of our community outreach. Most developers will target financial returns over quality. I want a sustainable project that I can be proud of. People have asked if I plan to sell this project. On the contrary, this will be a place where we will retire. We've engaged an award-winning team in this process of professionals who are demanded around the region. Our lead architecture firm is MHS Architects with Dean Machado and Bruce Stevie. Our lead planner is Paul Phillips from Phillips Priest. Our strategic consultant is Marina Rubina. Mike Ford from Van Cleef is our civil engineer, and Carl Pankey from Langen is our traffic consultant. With that, I'd like to hand over to our planner, Paul Phillips, and he can take it from here.
Good evening. Let me first introduce myself and explain my role in this endeavor. So, my name is Paul Phillips. I am a licensed professional planner and a principal in the firm of Phillips Price. I've been practicing as a planner in New Jersey for over 40 years. My firm essentially now advises, I'd say, roughly 30 municipalities or boards in New Jersey in the areas of planning and zoning. We also have a significant redevelopment practice where we advise mostly municipal clients. However, we do represent select private sector clients as well in the area of redevelopment, and it is in that capacity that we've been working with Mr. Herring and his team in devising a conceptual development scheme for this property. I want to begin by providing a framework for how we viewed this property from a planning and redevelopment perspective, taking into account its physical and locational characteristics, the surrounding context, as well as the overarching municipal objectives. And our intent was to largely build upon the efforts on the part of the municipality's redevelopment team, which was shared with the public at the 2 prior community forums, and particularly the last one, which was held on May the 6th of this year. And as you may recall, if you were at that meeting, a series of community-wide priorities and responsibilities were identified at that time relative to this property. And Steve touched upon that a little bit in his introduction, but I'm going to reiterate. And these included the following. First, as Steve mentioned, increasing the supply of affordable housing within the community, and also ensuring that such housing be equitably distributed throughout the municipality. And relatedly, and this was touched upon at that meeting, addressing the large unmet need obligation within the former borough proper. Secondly, embracing principles of smart growth. And importantly, from the standpoint of both housing prototype and density, recognizing that this site is within walking distance of downtown Princeton, as well as the university and the train station. It also affords the site the opportunity through an inclusionary development, which consists of both market rate and affordable housing, to expand housing choices for that segment of the Princeton housing market that desires to be close to downtown amenities and services. Third, understanding and recognizing that for many years this property accommodated a number of institutional type buildings of a distinct mass, scale, and height that were part of the historic neighborhood fabric. And then lastly, acknowledging that density can be effectively used as an incentive to achieve high quality development, desirable design amenities, and also sustainable development. And I think to also further ensure that what is ultimately built here takes full advantage with what I see as a truly gateway location in the community, while at the same time providing adequate and appropriate safeguards relative to the surrounding neighborhood. So it is within that framework that the following specific elements have been integrated in our conceptual design scheme. No, stay with that. Stay with the slide that's up. And you're going to see this shortly after I sit down and shut up. Dean is going to actually present the plan, but I wanted to highlight basically some of the key elements in light of those goals. The provision of significant affordable housing, 48 units of affordable housing is proposed as part of our plan. The plan provides for multiple publicly accessible open spaces and/or parks strategically located within the project area. The plan discourages large expanses of surface parking by providing buried below building parking. The plan limits site access from existing local streets. The plan will provide for enhanced stormwater management. And lastly, we're seeking to establish site-specific building placement standards and design guidelines with regard to things such as building massing, building articulation, material treatment, stepping back of heights, and the like, to properly regulate bulk and mass, and particularly in relation to adjacent residential properties. I want to just spend a brief minute with the issue of the D word, which is density. You heard from Jamie that we're proposing a project of 238 units, which translates into a density of about 49 units to the acre. And you can go to the next one. So we went back and looked at the municipal representative's presentation at the last community forum to see where this would fit within the range of recent either infill or redevelopment projects in the community, and it's basically in the middle of that range. That range is typically anywhere from 20 to about 80 units to the acre. There are a number that are about roughly 20. There are a number of roughly 60, 80, and some that are 60. I will tell you this. I've been a planning consultant for many years, for a long time. I can tell you that I've seen projects. I can share with you that I've seen projects that are built at 75 units per acre that, at least in my opinion, are in some cases better designed and more sensitive to neighbors than projects at 25 units per acre. And the point I'm trying to make is you cannot view density in a vacuum. And especially when you are through a redevelopment plan, you can put protections in place in terms of building design, buffers, setbacks, step backs, so as to, again, appropriately transition to adjacent properties and particularly adjacent residential properties. And just lastly, because height is also very much an issue on people's minds, as you basically heard from Mr. Herring, the tallest portion of our buildings, as you will see, are going to be 4 stories, and they measure 48 feet to the deck level of the roof. And this is in line with, or perhaps even lower than, some recent vintage redevelopment projects in Princeton. The wind development at the corner of Terhune and Harrison, that is, I think, 49 feet to the deck portion of the roof. And both of the Avalon projects at the shopping center and on Witherspoon are actually, because they have pitched roofs, about 60 feet to the roof peak. I would also say that, and it's important, and you'll see this when you see the slides, there are requirements for either 3-story buildings or 3-story facing facades in those locations where the property directly adjoins single-family homes. So bottom line, as you're going to see shortly, Mr. Herring's development team has worked diligently to design a project that responds to those municipal priorities and objectives, that is, I believe, mindful and respectful of adjacent residences, and also takes into account, again, what I feel is the property's gateway location, as well as its proximity to downtown Princeton. So without further ado, I think the key man of the hour, Mr. Marchetto, will take over from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Good evening. My name is Dean Marchetto. I'm an architect and a licensed planner, and I'm the architect serving for the Architectural Commission on this particular project. I am founding principal of my firm, MHS Architecture. Our firm is at least 40 architects, and we've been in business over 40 years. Our firm specializes in redevelopment projects and multifamily projects of this sort. We have many projects throughout the state of New Jersey like this that are award-winning projects. I'm joined tonight by my partner of 30 years, Bruce Stevie, who's been with me for 30 years, and Bruce and I worked on this together, and this was not handed off to some staff architects in our project firm. Bruce and I are directly involved in every inch of this redevelopment plan and this project. I'm also joined by Marina Rabina, who is on our team. She's a local architect, and she's a strategic architectural consultant that helps us advise about issues here in Princeton, and has joined us in the design and critique of the design process. I'm going to introduce the team. So you met Jamie Herring, you met Paul. I just introduced myself together with our civil engineer, Michael Ford, who's going to be doing the stormwater and civil engineering. He's with Van Cleef, a very, very well-recognized engineering firm. And you'll eventually hear from, not tonight, but our traffic planner, Carl Penke, who's with Langen. Now, I need to use my hands, so I can't hold this mic. I'm going to sit down here and use the mic on the table, and I'll be right back. Okay. Does that work? Can you hear me? Yeah, really close. Okay. Oh. Okay. I'd like to start out by telling you a little bit about the background work we did. When Bruce and I were first brought down to look at the project here at PTS, Princeton Theological Seminary, we spent over 2 years becoming familiar with the issues here in Princeton. And we walked the site, we became familiar with the area. We attended many meetings here, planning meetings, general planning meetings. We attended 2 meetings here in this room regarding the process with the council. One of the meetings we went to was a meeting about the master plan that was hosted by Tony Nellison, and we learned a lot about the community's concerns regarding issues, particularly affordable housing, diversity, and walkability. Another meeting we attended was a meeting with a guest speaker, Jeff Speck, who specializes in the walkability issues around projects like this. And we went on a little tour around downtown Princeton, and we came upon some of these alleys and walkways, and Bruce and I looked at each other and said, gee whiz, this is really exciting to have walkable trails in town. Wouldn't it be something if we could accommodate that kind of character into our project at the Princeton Theological Seminary site? So that was something that was exciting to see. You could see here some photographs we took on that trip. Let me see if this works. No. Okay, so I'll have to use this pointer. This works. That doesn't work either. Oh, well, I don't know. Okay, so after we learned what we learned by meeting with neighbors and Princeton concerns at city meetings, we established some general goals and objectives, and they were not too dissimilar from what Steve and Paul had mentioned. First of all, the site program that we were given was to design a multifamily project that would have 20% affordable units. So that was our architectural commission in terms of the program. And that it would meet certain goals that are smart growth oriented, which would include compact, efficient use of land, something close to downtown, walkability, and of course, affordable housing. We also established a target market. Who's going to rent these apartments? Who is this being aimed at? And so the marketing folks, as well as the client, set up the program based on the need. And first, we were going to market the apartments to Princeton empty nesters and retirees. We believe that's a big market for this product. Princeton alumni, Princeton residents who qualify for affordable housing will be here, and young professionals. We believe that that will be the largest sector of the market on this project. We also established a goal that the properties would not be, the buildings would not be more than 3 to 4 stories, and that the development would be concentrated to the center. If we were able to take the project and move it to the center of the site, it would scale down as it approached the neighboring sites across the street. Both Campbellton, Stockton, Edge Hill, as well as Hibben Road. We also established a goal after what we heard that the project should be architecturally sensitive to the smaller buildings on Edge Hill. That was something the neighbors had a concern about, and it became one of our goals. The site would also include an open space at the corner of Hibben and Stockton that would be open to the public and serve as a gateway to the property. So as you come into Princeton along Stockton, right now, you know you had the open space. We want to continue that open space and create an entrance marker at that location. We also created a rule for ourselves that we wanted to maximize the setbacks along the edges and create a deep setback along Hibben to provide relief from our neighbors on the other side, where we have direct opposite the street of our project to single-family homes. It was important that we make the project porous and that you could walk through this project in many different places, not a gated community. That was something that was also a goal that we established. We also wanted to make sure we would preserve the mature trees, especially along Hibben, some beautiful old trees that you see. And we wanted to make sure we would minimize any unsightly surface parking, so people wouldn't just look at parking lots. And then, of course, technical issues like manage the stormwater, build buildings that are environmentally sustainable, green buildings, and to provide, ultimately, a high-quality development with a suitable architectural style that is appropriate to Princeton. So what you see here is an aerial view looking down at the property. You can see Stockton at the top of the page. You can see Campbellton coming down into Stockton. Hibben is on the left, and Edge Hill is on the right, and far on the right is the actual Princeton Theological Seminary, so you can get your bearings. This red line that you see here identifies the property lines, and you'll see that we have two particular parcels, separate parcels. Parcel A is the larger parcel where Tenants and Roberts Hall was, and that's 3.96 acres, that site. And then the smaller site across Hibben where the gym used to be, we're calling that Parcel B, and that's 0.88 acres. And altogether, it's 4.84 acres, almost a 5-acre site. Some characteristics about this property are its dimensions. Stockton goes back 480 feet. The depth of the property is 480 feet, and it's almost that in its width. So it's a whole block in its width and almost a whole block in the other direction. It's a large site, and you'll see that there's a topography on the site, and the site slopes down approximately 17 feet from Stockton to the back of the site. So those are the general characteristics. Okay. This first diagram here is our, we call this a bubble diagram. Basically what we've done here is we've tried to overlay the goals and objectives in a graphic form on top of the site. And so what you see here is you see those big arrows coming in at Stockton. We want to create that open space. You see those stars on those two, let me see if I can use my, no. You can? Oh, I can't see. You see those two stars there? We think that those two stars deserve to have focal points, architectural focal points, so that when you come down Campbellton or you come up 208 Stockton Street, as you make the turn, you have something of architectural interest, and there would be an open space between them, not unlike what we have there before. Also, if we pull the building back on the former gym site and open up that site as well, you can have open spaces on both sides of Hibben, creating a very nice wide open expanse as you enter town. You'll also see that the way these bubbles are shaped, we have the narrow ends of the buildings facing the street. So instead of going by a building where you have a long side of a building, a rectangular building, facing the street, we wanted to put the narrow ends. So you'll see here, here, these, here, trying to create the most narrow approach and visualization from the street as for passers-by and for neighbors. You'll also see the dotted red line that traverse the site. We believe those are opportunities where people will be able to walk through this site and meander through on their way to downtown. Another important feature that was asked for, and it's shown in this bubble diagram, is this star on Stockton. And that would be the only in and out vehicular entrance and exit to the site. So there would be no entrance and exit from Hibben or Edge Hill, but basically the entrance to the site would be from where it is now, right on Stockton. You'll also see that on the right side, at the corner of Edge Hill and Stockton, there's a historic house, an older home. We're going to preserve that home. And then as the buildings get closer, they get smaller. There's two townhouses going next door to them so that the houses will scale down, the building will scale down as it gets closer to those smaller houses, trying to create an architectural sensitivity to the neighbors on Edge Hill. We also wanted to maintain a buffer, a green buffer, and you'll see that there's those green squiggle areas here represent landscaping buffers to protect the views from the neighbors and basically create a buffer. Okay, so that bubble diagram eventually produced actual footprints of the buildings. You see the white rectangles with the black outline. Those are the footprints of the building. All told, the footprints occupy 40% of the site, meaning that 60% of the site does not have a building on it. So 40% building coverage. You'll see here that these are to scale now. They're not just bubble diagrams. You can see the spaces, the public spaces starting to take shape. This space in here, and then there's another space on Hibben here, which will be an open space, and set back quite a bit from Hibben Road to maximize the distance from the street for the larger part of the property. So now it's a little bit more technical. This drawing starts to show you the heights in red and the setbacks in black. So you can see on the top left, there's a 4-story building that is 127 feet back from Stockton and 30 feet back from Hibben. And then the building on the gym site, you can see there, it's 30 feet from our neighbor to the south, and it's a 1-story component that you hit first, and then the building steps up to 4 stories. So it's approximately 40 feet from the property line for our neighbor to the south. Along Hibben, you can see that it's a 124-foot setback from Hibben Road to the largest part of our site, the building that's 4 stories in the center. As I mentioned earlier, our goal was to bring the density to the center of the site so that we can make the edges more of a lower scale, more open space. You can see here the road, which is really sort of like a shared street. It'll be an internal road. All cars coming in will come in from Stockton, down this road. There's a turnaround here, or a right turn, which will, a right turn that will take you into the garage, which is below these buildings. There's a complete subterranean garage below the buildings that you won't see the parking, but it'll come in from Stockton and go right down into the driveway. There's a 4-story building here as well, and you can see here that there are narrow edges that face the street. So the long edges and the concentration of the density is internal to the site, which is one of our goals. And then there are smaller townhouse projects adjacent to the homes on Edge Hill. But here you can see the heights, and if you're a neighbor or you know this property, you get a sense to see what the actual dimensions are. And I will be presenting renderings so that you can see what that actually feels like. So here is our site plan. The landscaping is a little bit more filled in. You can see the buildings are designed with green roofs. You can see the park on Hibben. It has more of a formal kind of park layout with a center and diagonal streets, or walkways, we'll call them, through the site. You'll see at Hibben and Stockton, this, what we're calling Gateway Park, this open space with pavers that take you through the site, and an open plaza, and entrances to this place along the fence line on axis of Campbellton, and right here across Hibben to what we're calling building 3 on the gym site. You can start to see an idea about the landscaping as well. We want to preserve as many trees as we can, and certainly all the trees on Hibben. There's nice mature trees along Hibben. So this next image is the first. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say here is you don't see any surface parking. There's a small 20-space parking lot here. There's parking for guests on the street, just street parking for guests. But that's because all the parking, 221 spaces, are located in the basement of the building, hidden from view, which is not an inexpensive thing to do. What would you like to know? Okay. Yeah. So you come in the street here, and you make a right, and you go into the driveway in the building that takes you down underneath in the basement where we have the parking spaces, 221. There is a small lot right here that occupies 20 surface spaces, and along this road, we're calling New Road, there's parking on both sides for guests. So the next image is the first architectural sketch of what we're thinking in terms of what the building feels like and what it looks like. So this is our first sketch. This is the corner of Stockton and Hibben looking east. There's the open space in the corner. And you can see, as you turn the corner and look straight down Stockton, you have a bird's eye view looking straight at the center of the one wing of the building that sticks out towards Stockton. That building is designed with a bay window in its center, a main entrance right there, so that you have a little bit of an architectural node, an element. You terminate the view. And right on the near side, here, is an open space on the gym site, so you have a continuous open space across Hibben to the focal point. So this is about the scale, but we then went and thought about materials. This next image is the color rendition with materials showing it, and you'll see close-ups here. The base of the building will be primarily stone. There'll be a datum height above the first floor, and in some places at the second floor, the stone will go up. You'll see that the facade of the buildings are broken down into smaller components so that you have bay windows separating different sides of the building, fragmenting the building into smaller scale. And then, of course, you can see we tried to preserve the trees as well. This next slide gives you an indication of the heights. So if you look at the building from the grade right here in front to the top of the roof deck, the fourth floor roof, it's 48 feet. But then above the roof, to create architectural interest, we have gables, we have cornice lines, sometimes we have bay windows, chimneys, maybe even a mansard roof to create architectural detail. But that's above the roof, and it's also designed to hide and mask noise and visuals from any mechanical equipment that would be up on the roof. So you wouldn't see any air conditioners or heaters or any kind of mechanical equipment up there. So this is, now, the next image is looking the other way, coming down Campbellton. So these buildings are configured into smaller components to reduce the scale. This one is divided by an open pedestrian walkway that's 2 stories high, that's welcoming from Campbellton and from Stockton. So when you're driving by or walking by, you can turn in here, you could walk through the property, through Hibben Park, and come out down on Hibben Road, rather. But with the color on it, you get to see how the buildings can actually be broken down by use of architectural elements like breezeways, bay windows, gables. We think that this is not a place for modern architecture. We elected to do something a little quieter, something that doesn't call attention to itself, something that feels like Princeton. Our firm is a contextual-based firm. We don't have an architectural style that we bring with us to other communities. All of our projects are designed to take cues from where they are. And so in this case, this is what we felt was an appropriate style for Princeton. And by the way, this is not 100% final. This is a concept vision plan. This is not final site plan. There'll be a point in time when these buildings are fully designed and every single detail is dimensioned and specified. But at this point, it's a vision. It's still a little malleable, but I think there's enough here in this presentation that you'll get a real sense about the way the project is designed and how it feels. It's welcoming, it's inviting, it's not fenced off as it was. It's not a gated community. I think this picture says it all. It also has a sense of placemaking about it. You know, once you turn the corner and see this place with the pavers and the breezeway, they'll be memorable. People will see this and say, oh, that's the beginning entrance to downtown Princeton. So now, you can see here the height. I superimposed that you can see at that particular corner, it's 48 feet from the grade or the sidewalk directly up to the roof line, 48 feet 8 inches. So this next image is the view looking south on Hibben. This is on the corner of Stockton and Hibben on the gym site, looking south down Hibben, and you can see on the left-hand side the building and some of the features, include this new park that will be on Hibben. It occupies quite a length of the frontage along Hibben. But what's important about this slide is the main building, which runs along the back, I think it was 134 feet back from the property. It goes up 3 stories. And then, in order to create scale and reduce the scale, we set the top floor back and change the materials so the building feels like a 3-story building with an attic. This is all visual cues that help us make larger buildings feel and seem smaller. It's an architectural device that we have, and it's just part of the design. You'll also see that the wing that comes out on the south end of the building on Hibben is 3 stories. So as you reach Hibben, it's 3 stories, and as you go back up because of the slope, at this particular intersection, that building's only 2 stories. So there's a conscious effort made to try to reduce the scale and bring the buildings down as they reach out to the street frontages. The top floor of that building is actually a continuous step back that could have a balcony or a terrace up there for those apartments on the outside of the building between the top of the 3rd floor and the top of the 4th floor. Here again, I wanted to overlay the exact points of the heights. Everybody is concerned about heights, it seems. You can see on the right there that at the far end of Hibben, where the slope is down the most, it's 38 feet to the roof. As you move up Hibben, it becomes 35 feet to the roof. When you move up towards the back building, it's 26 feet, and then again, the larger building in the back, it's 36 feet 6 to the top of the 3rd floor, then it steps back to the 48 foot. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, the height and density are concentrated in the middle. This is on New Internal Street. We're calling it New Road, for lack of a better name. Stockton is here at the far end. This is the New Interior Road. It's designed to be a complete street. We'll have parking on it. There'll be pavers. The buildings on either side, they're separated across about 60 feet apart. It's a good right-of-way for a building of this scale. It's again built to be 4 stories. However, at the top of the 3rd floor, it steps back, and these buildings will be punctuated with architectural detail. Like in this particular case, you see a wonderful bay window that is over the garage door. And then the top floor steps back. And if you look on the building on the left here, you could see the stone. You could see the stone entablature here above the 1st floor. And then there would be probably a 3-coat concrete cement stucco above. And the architectural detailing might be made out of concrete siding or metal paneling, still to be designed. But this is the visual. This is the way it would look. There's a regular grid of windows, and by creating variety in the windows, you create a different breakdown of scale. Some have mullions, some don't have mullions. And it's kind of like a wedding cake. It goes up and it steps back. The walkability and scale of this development is based on some principles from the DPZ New Urbanism School and the Congress of New Urbanism design, where people find walkable, scalable streets that are dense enough that they're dense, but they feel like they're appropriate in scale. And this is the view of the new road. And you can see we planted trees here as well. There'll be street trees on this new street. And again, the heights, 36 to the top of the third floor, the step back, and then 48.8 to the top of the uppermost roof at 4 stories. Okay, so this is a view looking, I guess that would be west on Stockton, at the corner of Edge Hill. The building right here, this white building in the corner, is the existing home, which will be preserved and renovated. Then a new townhouse will go to the right, and that helps us transition from the existing smaller home to a townhouse of 3 stories to our regular multifamily building here, which is 4 stories, again, picking up the 3-story line from the townhouse, setting back, and then having the 4th floor setback. This is a way of transitioning from a smaller building at 3 stories or 2.5 stories to a building of 4 stories. And here again, we wanted to show the heights, 36 feet to the top of the forward facade, and then stepping back to 48 feet on the top of the 4th floor. And this is the same building that I showed you in the last slide, but it's from the other side. This, right past this building, you make a left, that's the entrance into the site, and that's the new road that takes you into our underground covered parking. Okay, and finally, we have the building on the gym site. This is, we call parcel B. This is looking west. This is looking west on Stockton, and Hibben is on the left. The building is set back, as you can see. This building is 4 stories, goes up to 3, and then it steps back again with more of a pitched roof with dormers on it to create a little different look. And in color, you could see the materials. So far, you know, we have a little work to do, but for now, we're showing similar materials. I think there could be more variety in this building. We're just not 100% there yet, but you can see how it fits, how it sits on the property. And if you look here down Hibben, it's a 4-story building. It goes to 3. It steps up to an attic that looks like an attic, and it's the 4th floor. But when you get down to our neighbor on Hibben, it steps back down to 1 story. Right here. Hopefully you can see this. So the building is designed to step down as it gets closer. And at this point, that 1 story is 30 feet away from the property line. Again, heights 36 feet and 48 feet to the roof. So just some project statistics. There's 190 market rate apartments here, 48 affordable units for a total of 238. 238 units on 4.84 acres yields a density of 49 units per acre. The units will be a variety of different types. We'll have studio apartments, 1-bedroom apartments, 2-bedroom apartments. Some of those 2-bedroom apartments will have dens, so you have a working alcove for folks who work at home or just want a TV den. And then 10 of the units will be 3 bedrooms, which is required in the affordable component, that the 10 of them are 3-bedroom units. Again, the target market for these units are empty nesters, retirees, young professionals, and Princeton alumni. 221 parking spaces in that basement garage, below grade. 41 surface parking spaces between the street and that small 20-space lot that I pointed out, for a total of 262 parking spaces on site and hidden from view. The building heights range between 3 to 4 stories and do not exceed 50 feet to the roof anywhere on the site. The lot coverage for all of the building footprints are 40% coverage of the lot, and 65% coverage if you include the drives and the walkways. Altogether, 60% of the site is not built on, and that includes parks, walks, drives, and lawns. In total, we have 3 particular park spaces. The park space on the former gym site is 6,700 square feet. At the corner of Stockton and Hibben, it's 12,800 square feet. And the Hibben Park itself is 16,800 square feet. So these are not just walkways, these are specific park areas. The total publicly accessible park space is 36,300. It's 0.83 acres of public open space for neighbors to walk through and to enjoy, as well as the residents who live here. Okay. So as part of being a sustainable building and green building techniques, these are some of the features that we plan to include in the design and construction of the development. Recycled building materials, low VOC paints and finishes. We have low flow plumbing fixtures, programmable thermostats, LED lighting, Energy Star appliances, things that make the building a green building and it's become sustainable. Some of the sustainable elements associated with the site, as you've heard from Paul, location, access to trains, bike storage, electrical vehicle charging stations, stormwater controls, and then the culture of the building itself, as per the developer and the sponsor. This will be a robust recycling protocols. It'll be no smoking in the building. It'll be a pet-friendly building, low impact cleaning and maintenance, and community bikes. So these are some of the features that will be included to make it a green building. So this is my final slide. I particularly like this one the best. I guess maybe it's the pink trees, I don't know. But this is my final slide. I would like to finish by saying that we worked very hard to find an approach that minimizes the impacts. And although multifamily buildings are larger than the single-family homes in the neighborhood, this will provide a much-needed supply of affordable housing, and I believe that due to the sensitivity of the planning and design, this development over time will settle in comfortably into the neighborhood, and that it will become a welcome neighbor and a visual landmark in Princeton. And beyond that, I think the quality that we're projecting to be on this site could become a model. Could become a model for future redevelopment projects in Princeton. You know, there's an affordable housing need that's still not met, even with our units here, and there will be more redevelopment over time. And I think if we create a model that's sustainable, smart growth, beautiful architecture, well-designed, hidden parking below grade, you might be able to create a project here that serves as a model for future development projects like it in Princeton. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you to the Herring team for that presentation. We're now going to enter into the question and answer and comment period. There's a microphone up there that should be on. We are going to stick to 3 minutes per commentator, and once you have your turn, we're going to ask you to wait until everybody gets a turn before you come back up another time. So feel free to start. Line up.
Is Mr. Mayor here? Mayor? No? Anyway, greetings to the mayor, greetings to President Sachs, and greetings to the Herring development team. My name is Sheldon Sturgis. I speak this evening on behalf of the board of Princeton Future, which is a community group that was started 23 years ago that hopes to support a good future for the town. Princeton Future is pleased to see the progress that is underway on the redevelopment of the land at the corner of Stockton Street and Hibben Road. Having held more than a dozen community meetings over the past 2 years, our community-based nonprofit has heard residents call for more housing in the missing middle and the affordable ranges. You can read the verbatims of our neighbors, what our neighbors have said in the PDFs of the books of each of our 9 meetings posted at www.princetonfuture.net. We have also heard the desire for such housing to be close to the center of town, encouraging a walkable, environmentally sustainable lifestyle and easing the development pressures on the perimeter lands that might someday become an emerald necklace. The land use plan that is now part of the draft community master plan designates the site for multifamily residential, and we strongly agree with that designation. The draft community master plan also notes the large differential between the number of households, 1 and 2 persons, and the much smaller number of dwelling units available for such households. These findings are also consistent with what Princeton Future learned from listening to the community. Since we have not previously seen this size and scope when I wrote this, we will defer comment on the details. As the town continues to study the proposal and create a final redevelopment plan with the developer, Princeton Future hopes that all parties can pay attention to the details that affect the public at large. The streetscape along Stockton and Hibben, the spaces and vistas that can be enjoyed by passersby, whether by foot, bicycle, or car, or by the public, with improved pedestrian and cyclist crossings and walkways between this project and the central business district, less than a half a mile away. In its previous life, this site accommodated more than 100 units of housing for the Princeton Theological Seminary and was considered a gateway to Princeton, a signal to motorists that they were entering Princeton. We believe that the new development can be more than a gateway, rather a visual statement that people have already entered into a residential neighborhood in Princeton, a time for motorists to slow down if they haven't done so already. If town officials or community members wish to further explore aspects of this development, Princeton Future would be willing to facilitate that process and listen some more. Many thanks.
Hi, my name is Andrea Gaynor. As empty nesters who are in the process of selling our Princeton home of 32 years, my husband David and I have been disappointed by a lack of desirable options in which to downsize here to stay in Princeton. Upon hearing about the possible development of the seminary property, we realized that it would afford us the convenience, aesthetic, and green space that we desire. Princeton has already lost many in our constituency due to a lack of desirable housing options to downsize. Many of our friends have jumped the river to Bucks as a result or gone to other neighboring towns. It behooves Princeton to keep our demographic here in town. We have raised our children here and have supported the community's not-for-profits. Now as seniors, we have more time to volunteer and continue to contribute to this wonderful community.
Good evening. Congratulations, Jamie, on the job you've done. Tony DeMeglio, Callaway Henderson Sotheby's, a realtor. I'm sure everybody's question on their mind is, how's the market and what is my house worth? Well, you can all sleep very well tonight. That's all very good. The interesting thing about the library neighborhood, who I guess it was very concerned about their values, in the last year, we have sold 4 houses over $4.5 million. So the question of home values as to what this project is going to be it's a non-issue. And regarding the woman that was just here, I'd just like everybody to understand that the need here is for housing for right sizing. It's not downsizing. We're not going down anywhere. We're just staying here in Princeton. And I think you've done a phenomenal job. This is the future of housing. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Jessica Vieira. I reside at 86 Stockton, right at the corner of Edge Hill and Stockton. I'd like to commend you all for what looks like aesthetically a beautiful project. I haven't had time to digest it all. I would say, however, that the devil's in the detail, and the traffic on 206 is horrible, and I'm not sure how you're going to get 221 cars out of a development when there's 18-wheelers coming down 206. That said, approaching the state and finding a way to bypass all of that traffic, I mean, it's an accident waiting to happen if you don't work on that. So finding a way to get all of that 206 cut-through traffic away will help your project tremendously and will help our neighborhood sort of stay as residential as you're proposing it to be. So thanks so much.
Good evening. My name is Tom Pinio. I live on Van Deventer Avenue, Princeton High School, class of '83, now parent of a Princeton High School 10th grader, builder, developer, and housing initiatives of Princeton board member. According to the eviction lab at Princeton, we live in the single most economically segregated metro area in the United States. While many of us may feel the pinch of housing costs, most of us have found a way to make it work because we believe in the benefits and opportunities that a place like Princeton provides. But if your rent burden is defined by being more than 30% of your income used towards housing, then places of opportunity, along with their educational, health, and countless other benefits, are out of reach. And so, I believe that towns like Princeton are precisely where we should be investing in housing and catalyzing social mobility, and that inclusionary or set-aside development, like that proposed here, is the best vehicle for that investment. One that doesn't further stratify or segregate the town, and that leans on the developer and much-needed market rate housing to pay for the affordable housing. Building at the intersection of a housing crisis and a climate crisis demands that we follow the well-established principles of smart growth development that this council both ran on and has consistently promoted. But choosing in-town density over car-centered housing at the periphery will have consequences that the mayor reminds us we can't gloss over. Those consequences are, however, not excuses to not move forward. We need to acknowledge that the immediate neighbors will feel the disruption and change most acutely. Not to do so would be disingenuous. But we also need to reaffirm that while we are each residents of an individual neighborhood, we are all, collectively, citizens of Princeton and responsible for the town as a whole. That's why, wherever I go in town, I wear this "Housing Here" button. And so I suggest those of us who support this plan engage productively in the process to make it even better. Though he doesn't know it yet, I, for one, plan to challenge Jamie and his team on the performance standards with the goal of driving down both the embodied and operational carbon of the design. I think it's even more important that those of you who are not yet on board do exactly the same. We have a hometown developer, born and bred, ready to engage in productive conversation, and we ought to make the most of it. If we can't make this work, who knows what's down the road? Our differences and our challenges are manageable if we work together. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen O'Connell. I live on Hibben Road, and I'm directing this to council. We as neighbors have been living a long time in the shadow of this A&R, with many things promised by Princeton along the way. One key promise that has not yet been kept is that we would be an important part of the process and that no redevelopment of the TRW sites would result without a mutually acceptable plan. I would like to read from the municipality's letter dated October 2021, sent to us almost 2 years ago to this day. The purpose of this letter is to advise all of you that Princeton has determined that any redevelopment of the property must be the result of a collaborative effort between the contract purchaser, PCRD, the neighborhood, and the property owner as appropriate. The letter goes on to say, Princeton recognizes that the coalition has concerns regarding the redevelopment of the property. Princeton believes that those with immediate and direct interest in the redevelopment of the property, including the contract purchaser, the coalition, and other impacted neighbors, should work together to achieve a mutually acceptable plan. This has not yet occurred, even though we have reached out to council on many occasions to no avail. In good faith, we had spent countless hours over the years becoming citizen experts on things like A&R, land use, including R4 versus R3 zoning, FAR, stormwater mitigation, the impact of possible loss of trees, sustainability, architecture, and community benefits. While we patiently awaited the initiation of a collaborative effort, which we often requested, we worked with experts from many fields on the options that we felt could work for all, including creating more affordable units than required by law. I ask that council make good on their commitment and allow us to provide meaningful input, and as the municipality's own lawyer has stated, work together to achieve a mutually acceptable plan. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sean Jackson. I'm the CEO at Isles. We're a nonprofit based here in Mercer County that works on sustainability issues, and wanted to stop tonight to just applaud this step forward on a project that is really epitomizing smart growth and the use of transit-oriented development. You know, we know this is a site that is walkable to the train, walkable to the bus, and walkable to the downtown. Those are all great ways to make, you know, the community and this housing opportunity friendly to folks of all ranges of income. If we build affordable housing but put it in a cornfield, we're not making it affordable for people who then have to have a car and car insurance and all the costs associated with it. So this kind of downtown walkability is really important for accessing transportation and then accessing also the employment opportunities for those who live in this community but all too often can't afford to live here. They work here, they can't live here. This is a chance to do that with the largest employer, obviously the university being so walkable, the seminary, and then all the downtown businesses. Second, it's really valuable that the affordable housing combination here, that this is, we know the best practices are mixed income rental units, not all of one or all of another. And so you've got a substantial number of affordable housing units, a meaningful number, but also in a mixed income market setting. That's going to be the most effective and yield the most successful project. Lastly, I just urge you to really focus on the sustainability. Love the green roofs. We have them on our buildings, and we urge people to do that. That's really important. Please look at the decarbonization opportunities. This is a chance to do heat pumps, not natural gas. This is a chance to do induction stoves, not more gas in that regard. We know that that's going to make an important difference as we move forward on climate change. So as you have been innovative in your design so far, I expect and hope and will be looking to see that you carry forward on those design opportunities. This is a great step forward to make an inclusive opportunity for everybody who lives and works in this community to stay in the community, and we applaud that effort. Thank you.
Evening. My name is Jonathan Hopkins. I'm at 133 Library Place. One question on the design. How do tenants in Building 3 with a car access the building? Does the parking garage go under the street all the way under that building, or is there no parking for that building?
Well, let me just get the map up for you. Building 3 is the one on the new road, and you come down the... Oh, is it the gym site? The gym site. Yeah, let me get to the one. Let me just see which one are you? There it is. Okay. You can see that there's a driveway that comes out onto Hibbing for that particular building. I can't take another entrance off of Stockton at that place, so we're coming in the current curb cut, right on Hibbing.
And they're going to go down under that building?
Yes.
Underground parking under there. And does the project meet minimum requirements for parking spaces, or is a variance required?
Well, this is redevelopment.
Well, ultimately, there's going to be if we go forward with this project, there's going to be a redevelopment plan adopted, and that redevelopment plan will establish parking
It
standards.
doesn't meet the current requirements under the current ordinance for parking for the number of tenants and units.
Well, the current requirement is a generic requirement that doesn't take into account the fact that this is within walking distance of downtown, but my understanding is that the standard that we're thinking is consistent with other projects, redevelopment projects, that are similarly situated from a locational perspective.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The parking that's proposed is consistent with the ratio of parking on all of Princeton's recent redevelopment multifamily projects.
Hi, Betsy Brown, 8 Edgehill Street. I'm trying to think of a polite way to put my reaction. It's basically, I think you guys are out of your mind. This is the most polluted block in the entire town. Have you ever walked on 206? Have you? Okay. What's it like? My husband and I... What? Oh, okay. This is the most polluted block in Princeton. My husband and I used to like to walk around our neighborhood. We now, if we walk to Marquand Park, we have to walk on Mercer. We can't walk on Stockton because I get a headache. The fumes are terrible. How do you suspect, why the hell are you putting an enormous housing development in the most polluted block in town? Everybody knows what 206 is like. This is not something I'm making up. And you could have done it successfully with a smaller group, as the seminary had it, removed further from the road, but putting over 200 families with little kids and old people. What about the lead the kids are breathing? What about people with asthma? If somebody dies from asthma because they're cooped up in that bad air, who is going to be sued? Is it the builder or the town? You just have no sense of reality. You draw pictures, you have these absurd pictures of 1 or 2 graceful little cars on the road when it's truck after truck, and because it's New Jersey, these are old trucks with a lot of diesel and a lot of smoke. If you can clean up 206, then go ahead and build. But if you can't, you're creating a death trap. Can you clean up 206? Do you have any realistic ideas? I don't think you do.
My name is Dozier Hammond, Lee Avenue in Princeton. I hope that there's some way we can figure out how to get beyond 20% sometime. I assume with the economics that you all put together, that's the most you can go, but I'm hoping at some point we can go more than 20% affordable to 25% or 30% affordable, so that we can really accommodate the people who are being pushed out of town. And I don't think this project can work on this, but eventually we will have to go after the missing middle as well, which I'm sure is not being, because it's going to be, all the rest is going to be market rate, which will not be missing middle. We need more housing in town. Hopefully that will ameliorate the rise in housing values in town, but I think we need to really work more on trying to get even more affordable and eventually the missing middle. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kim Dorman. I don't have any prepared statements. I started writing notes just now. I just wanted to say that I grew up on the Ridge in Princeton, and now I live in the borough on the corner of Harrison and Patton. Town has changed extraordinarily since I grew up, and I think that's a good thing. A lot of my focus over the last year has been on the housing crisis in our country and in our community, and I can say that it is a crisis. And I just wanted to say that I sincerely appreciate the thoughtful effort that you've put in, everybody who's been on this process, to ensure that the development helps us meet our commitments and our responsibilities. So I'm not a builder, I can't speak to the details, but what you've shown us I really appreciate, so thank you.
Hi, my name is Kylie Tangen,
And I'm Jeffrey Allen.
and we're speaking on behalf of Ridgeview Turtles, which is a nonprofit group in Princeton that aims to preserve open space around Princeton. We just want to call attention to the fact that forests are our best defense against climate change, and we speak in favor of this council's development plan because it is essential for smart growth in Princeton to have these buildings downtown, and it can and will be balanced with saving land on the environmentally sensitive areas at the outer ring of town. We are pleased with the efforts to build with respect to environmental concerns, and we are excited that this area has so much open space and walkthroughs that are not closed off to the public. As a young person myself, I know that forests are so key to solving the climate crisis, and that smart growth downtown combined with saving these existing intact forests is the key to our future.
We appreciate the input of a developer who hails from the town and knows the town, and building on the open space gateway into town is a good path forward to redeveloping the site. But I will echo the previous comment that was made about Route 206 being subject to traffic, as I am someone who both drives through there and I also run through there. But still, we hope that the features for the green building features that were featured in the presentation, as well as the commitment to making it also partially affordable housing property is followed through as an equitable standard and not just simply a Princeton standard. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carol Golden. I'm on Snowden Lane, and I just wanted to react to the presentation, which I thought was fabulous, and it seemed to show to me that you all have taken into consideration a lot of the input that you've gotten from the neighbors and the community that's really affected most significantly. So I applaud you for that. I also I'm speaking for myself as a private citizen, but I sit on the Affordable Housing Board for the town, and I'm also on the Board of Housing Initiatives of Princeton, which we provide transitional housing for working families. And everything that's been said about the the smart growth aspect of this really hits home for me, because many of the families that we provide our own transitional housing for, we hope one day will graduate and be able to live in the affordable units in this new project. And these folks really need access to town, they need access to the trains, they need access to the bus lines, and this is the perfect location for families to be who either work in town and can walk there, or just want to live in our community where I would like to have the diversity. I think it makes our town stronger, but this kind of location and the thoughtfulness that's been put into that is really important. It is unfortunate that 206 has a lot of trucks and bad traffic on it, but that's unfortunate for all of us. Thanks.
Hello, Michael Floyd, Harris Road. I think your concept plan has taken in some of the comments of the neighbors and whatnot, and it's a more attractive plan than I expected, especially given some of the other projects that are, part of the affordable housing program. This is far and ahead visually better designed, and I think also from planning side. I do have a couple questions. If at this point in the concept phase, could you tell me which your concept rent schedule is for the market units?
Push through. Yeah. So I think part of it is the time period that Leah has talked about in terms of the approval and that effort. That is probably going to take us several years before we get into the market.
Gosh. Not picking up on the screen.
Can you hear me now? Okay, yeah. So it will take us several years. If we were to come out on the market today with it, which is how we went through the financial scrutiny of the town, the one bedrooms were in the high 2s, low 3s. The 2 bedrooms were in the high 3s, and the 2 bedrooms dens were in the low 4s.
4,000.
4,000 per month, yes.
It's not bad for Princeton right now. You're getting some of those prices that are even higher.
Oh, yes. I mean,
yes. Okay. That's
the goal. I mean, we have a wide range. We have three, as Dina said, we have a target of 3 categories: young professionals who have limited funds. We have empty nesters who may be have more funds and are downsizing. Maybe they'll pay the most, and then retirees more fixed. So there's a top category on that can be charged. So if those are our 3 categories, we have to maintain a rent structure that attracts them.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's like I said, not as high as I thought it would be when you project it out. But as a couple people have said and kind of implied, there's such a need, even in the middle, for housing. And even those levels are out of reach of a lot of people, and I will say it's out of reach of a lot of black people. So preserving diversity, the other D word, is a tough thing to do, and I don't have that great of expectations given the income differential of the state of New Jersey and the town of Princeton, that a lot of the people, empty nesters, a lot of the young professionals, who will they be?
Yeah, well, let me just give one response that, Michael, is
Fine, I'll come back.
you know, there's a lot of different ways you can evaluate a project, and, you know, one way, we've talked about sort of the D word, the density word, in terms of being able to pay for the special features, but part of that is also being able to keep the cost more moderate. And, you know, one of the questions I have received over the last couple of years in terms of this project was, why can't you have fewer, more expensive places? And it's just not a model that I feel comfortable with. There are certainly units in town that are extremely expensive, and the neighborhood is spectacular that we are in. So you know, there's a possibility that you could approach that. I think our model is a broader. Maybe it's not all missing middle, but it's a broader, attractive model that bring in a wider, diverse group of tenants.
Yeah, and I'll leave with this. Missing middle, the term you just used, which is no one defines it. You know, it could be someone that just can't afford a $3 million home in Princeton, okay? Then you're in the missing middle. Really, so much of the missing middle will be missed, and with all the developments around here, they just can't afford it. You know, someone, empty nester selling a house, hey, they can afford to pay the prices, but most of the missing middle will be missed.
Yeah.
But I've said that before.
Yeah.
So
but if with more,
that's not really pointed at you.
But yeah, I understand. But with more housing, that missing middle narrows. It gets smaller.
Yeah, and a number of people, like David and a few others, have told me, and I believe it, but it reminds me of an old politician, and it's true. It's trickle down economics.
My name is Tony Nellison. I'm a emeritus professor of urban planning and design. I was just really blown away by this presentation tonight. Some of you know me. I live on 13 Bank Street. I own both 11 and 13 Bank Street, and mine is the only house where a 22-foot, 6-story building is right on the property line. The first slide I saw tonight that set back this project from all the adjacent units is extraordinary in terms of most developers would just use the entire site. Here we had extraordinary open space, and then the visuals portrayed something that I expected, but I was not quite so prepared to see. I think relatively this project would compete with anything the university has built with all its money. For the first time, we're not getting a cheap, public, affordable housing project. I think the design is extraordinary, quite honestly. I know you're going to work out a lot of the other sets of details, but this project probably sets the model for the rest of the projects which the town is going to have to absorb in the next 10, 15 years. Parking underground, only using 40% of the site. Materials that are really well done. Landscaping, which is superb. I mean, I think we've really got to think seriously about applauding this effort because, for me, quite honestly, it was not expected to be this beautiful and this effective. So I congratulate Jamie, the team. I think you've done an extraordinary job, and I hope this redevelopment plan sets the precedent for all the other housing that will be built in this town in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
I'm coming back to the mic, sorry, but I want to add one thing that I just has been needling at me and I didn't bring up. So you are appealing to retirees, empty nesters, young professionals. One of the things that's near and dear to my heart is the Princeton Public Schools. I know you're, Jamie, a product of the Princeton Public Schools, and many of us in this room send our children to the Princeton Public Schools. Copperwood was built with the intention of being full of retirees. But in fact, we now have several students being sent to our public schools. And the operating budget and the size of our schools and the population of our schools is at max capacity. So I'd love to hear how the town and the council is working with you to improve the funding to our schools for the students who could potentially come from these units. So any details that you can share with the public would certainly help to win over your fans. So appreciate it.
Certainly, thank you for the comment. So certainly every redevelopment project we evaluate, as I mentioned in my earlier comments, from every perspective, whether that's planning, architectural, sustainability, and financial. And part of that is obviously the financial impact to the municipal resources and, of course, the school resources. So, of course, that's part of the vetting process in terms of what the expectation of the school enrollment will be. It has been and it will continue to be, as obviously you saw a concept tonight, and there's a lot more work to be done. Now, what I will say is that what has been shown time and time again is that projects like this, multifamily housing, especially from a market perspective limited to 2 bedrooms, does not yield the amount of school children that, for example, a single-family development would. We have somebody in this room who worked very hard with Rutgers that did a development study on that most recently that proves that out. So the expectation is that, of course, any project, any multifamily project is going to yield some school-age children, but not at a level that is going to be disruptive, certainly at this scale of the school system, because whatever children are there, they're usually spread out K through 12, so you're not having a multitude of children in any one grade that requires any capital investment in the school system. But of course, yes, this is a very important piece that will continue to be vetted.
And just one other component is this site currently, well, there's been a little bit of a tax charge, but historically has had no taxes in the town. So from a standpoint of revenue to the town and to the schools, it will be a net extreme positive.
Joe Butler, 18 Heaven Road. So are you saying there's no pilot?
That hasn't been determined at the moment.
Well, okay, but you're talking about money to the schools. Pilots don't have money to the schools.
Is that the case?
Yeah, that's the case.
There has been no discussion, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am, there's been absolutely no discussion or negotiation of pilot. We're not even close to that stage yet.
Okay, well,
but there's been no discussion of that right now. But what I can tell you is the financial vetting that has taken place has proven out from a density point of view that pilot or no pilot, less than 238 with all of the goals and objectives doesn't work.
Okay, so spoiler alert, the Phillies are ahead 2-0. So I love conversations, and honest conversations are the best kind. And I thought we established at the May 6th meeting that Princeton has no unmet need in terms of our legal obligation to COA. Is that correct?
That is not correct. That was not what was established.
We have unmet need?
You have an unmet need in the former
From
borough.
round 3.
It was 195 units in the former borough. That's correct.
We had 195 from the former borough, but I thought we met all of our affordable housing need.
No.
Oh, over 100? Okay, I stand corrected. Have you spoken to NJDOT about your project?
No.
Have you talked to them? Are you required to do any work on the intersection at Hibben and 206 as part of this? Is there not some sort of redevelopment, street, something as part of the plan?
I'm not aware of it myself, but we'll have a civil engineer on the team that will eventually get to those state issues and traffic and roads. We're just not there yet.
Okay, because along with my neighbors, I just want to say that 206, at certain times you just cannot you have to wait for somebody to wave you in. Traffic's not flowing. And didn't you start saying this by saying that all the traffic would enter off of 206?
Not all of it.
Minimize it.
On Lot 3, it goes into, from Hibbon.
Okay. I thought I heard you say all the traffic would come off 206. How many people are going to be parking below
There will be
building number
about
3?
46 units on Lot 3.
So there's 46 parking spots under there?
Yeah, we haven't finalized that plan,
Yeah,
but
we
there
haven't
would be.
finalized
The parking for that building would be in that building.
Okay, and then I noticed that you had a little walkway across the top of the street.
Yeah.
And is that a raised walkway, or is that,
What would you want?
This here?
I just think it's dangerous.
A
No
raised
matter
walkway?
what. I'm sorry?
A raised walkway?
I think it's all dangerous. Based on that corner, coming around that corner, it's just dangerous to think about people peeling off 206, sometimes turning left onto Hibbon. It's just dangerous, I think, to have people trying to cross the street about 20 feet south of the
I don't know.
Walkway.
Where are you getting 20 feet from?
I'm just
I mean, 20 feet
estimating.
sounds too close.
Well, whatever you've got drawn in there.
Well, I don't think it's 20 feet.
Okay.
get back?
How much
I mean,
is it?
I don't know, but we will follow regulations that are safe.
Talking about this, yeah.
All right, I'm just saying, as someone who turns on that street every day, left and right, in and out,
Yeah, I think.
the idea that
I
you're...
think it's very important that we have a plan that's
I don't know how
safe,
to turn it
and we will provide a plan that's safe.
Adam, if you're hearing us, if you can let us share the screen now. Dean would like to share the screen. There you go, thank you.
So I imagine you must be talking about this walkway here. It's approximately 60 feet from here, and it's probably more like 40 feet from here. And it's not a final plan. If we determine that it has to move 10 feet in one direction or the other, this is a concept. We want to make it safe. It certainly wants to be walkable, and we're going to try to give as much walkability as possible. Now, right now, I was there, I spent an hour right at this intersection on Friday, listening to all those trucks go by. And I say to myself, when I think about adding these buildings, they'd actually become a buffer to noise for people down Hibbon. It actually would be an improvement on the noise level. But right now, you walk along the sidewalk, and there's no escape. This open public space will allow you to come into the site off of Stockton, cross the street, and then meander back out to Stockton when you get to the end of the site. There's also another overpass that, we don't have a view yet, but it goes right through the middle of the site right here. It's like another arch, another gateway. It's a pedestrian connection. Takes you through this walkway, through Hibbon, through the park, through the building, through an archway similar to the archway I showed you on Campbellton, and then it comes into the new road. And then you can come out to Stockton here, bypassing a very long length of walking right along Stockton, which I think is what makes this project a bit more walkable.
Quick question, is the parking,
Sir.
surface parking, Tony Clockenbrink, Edgehill Street?
Just because I'm sorry to make you do it, but because we're streaming, they may not be able to hear you online. Recording.
No, go right ahead.
Quick question. Tony Clockenbrink, 22 Edge Hill. Just as you've got this up here, that surface parking, what's the access to that?
It's coming down New Street, through the garage, and into this parking area
Okay,
in the
so
back.
through the garage.
It's not from Edge Hill.
Okay, no, it wasn't clear. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Hi, Felicia Spitz. I live in the western section at 5 Hazlitt Avenue. I'm speaking as a private citizen, but I'm also chairwoman of the Princeton Housing Authority. So I applaud your plan. I'm really happy that it includes the 20% affordable unit setback. Dozier, wherever you are, I take your challenge. I'm going to build something with 50% in this town, maybe before I'm dead, hopefully. I was really encouraged to hear all the energy around traffic today, because back in the day when the seminary wanted to add a couple divinity students here, and that was disallowed, and all those cars are now driving into town because we couldn't just let the divinity students move here. I'm glad that you're building something that's walkable, so people have the choice of driving or not, and I hope that people will take the opportunity to walk. I walk from my neighborhood, which is slightly farther away than where you are proposing this building site, and it's a great walk. I don't have problems on Mercer, so maybe Mercer becomes the big pedestrian throughway. And I hope that I know at the beginning you said that you had retained a traffic engineer to start doing the studies. I hope there's opportunity to have some feedback about that, because I would love to see projects that discourage more people driving into town than what we've done so far. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name is William Wolf. I live at 50 Hawthorne Avenue, and I practiced architecture for 45 years. I'm now happily retired. I basically think you've presented a very, very attractive scheme. I want to second much of what Tony Nellison had to say, so I won't repeat that. The only thing that I'd like to say different from that is that I think from this point, you have a design challenge that could really make this a forward-looking project that could be a leader to housing that we build in the future. And still using all the skill that you showed us in breaking down the mass to work on the site, but rather than evoking the Gothic past, that might work. I think it might be more important that this project becomes a zero energy project, becomes all electric. I think it would certainly be interesting if you could take those four-story elements and use solar photovoltaics. Maybe instead of chimneys, think of wind turbines. I'd like to see this more of a forward-looking project. Thank you.
So we are at the 2-hour mark. I'll take just a few more comments if anybody has them. Otherwise, okay. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Oh, there's one more? Where? Oh, I see. Okay. Last one.
Hi, I will be brief. Liz Lempert, Meadowbrook Drive. And I just want to echo a lot of what has already been said tonight. I want to commend the redevelopment committee and Jamie and your team. I think you had a lot of community hopes and dreams going into this, and I think this has captured a lot of what the community has asked for. I know this is the beginning of a pretty long second phase here, so I wish you luck. I'm speaking as the chair of Housing Initiatives of Princeton, and as a couple of my colleagues from HIP have mentioned, we deal with transitional housing and see just the intense need in our community to have places for people who work in town and support the town running, to have places for people to live. And this is an ideal spot. It's an important spot for the community because of its location, and I'm just pleased from what I saw tonight. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And I would just like, if for the next meeting, if we have more of a notice, then I think we had less than a week notice for this. So if we could please be prepared for the next one, thank you.
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Thanks to the Herring team. Thanks to the redevelopment team. On a personal note, I will say, as somebody who does redevelopment for a living, you can do redevelopment in a lot of different ways, but the really, really great redevelopment projects live at that intersection between opportunity, like you have here, a municipal government and leadership that you have here, and a developer who wants to be a true public-private partner and is willing and open to the goals and objectives of the community. And I think that's what we have here. And there's a lot of optimism around this project. We thank you for coming out. You'll hear from us again. And I want to let Council President Sachs, that's it? Okay. Thanks, everybody.